here for you when you need us. From emergency care to routine checkups and screenings, caregivers are here and ready to provide the safe, high-quality care you need close to home. Online at sanjuanregional.com with the latest health information and resources to help you live life better here.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, what would Immanuel Kant do?
He'd tell us to live by the categorical imperative, which is a guideline for good behavior.
But that says you should rat out your friends and family, because it's never okay to lie.
Nah, Kant just thinks you should follow universal moral rules supported by reason.
But isn't everyday life too messy for that?
What would Kant do? Next time on Philosophy Talk.
But if you do right to me, baby, I do right to you too. Got to do another.
Listen to Philosophy Talk today at noon on KSJE 90.9 FM, Farmington. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, a community-owned and operated hospital, here for you when you need us. From emergency care to routine checkups and screenings, caregivers are here and ready to provide the safe, high-quality care you need close to home. Online at sanjuanregional.com with the latest health information and resources to help you live life better here. Thirteen minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Tuesday morning, the 19th day of April, 2022. Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Michlin, and thank you for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM over the air, of course, here in San Juan County, New Mexico, streaming everywhere else on the planet from our website, KSJE.com. And we welcome our viewers who are watching this community-supported visual radio program. It is streaming live this morning out to the KSJE Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Twitter account. We're glad that you are with us this morning, everybody, because coming up, our focus today, Aztec Schools. I'll be joined by Aztec Schools Superintendent Kevin Summers, also one of the newest principals in the Aztec School District, so you'll meet him in just a moment as well. That's coming up this morning in the next few moments right here on KSJE. And then, of course, later on this hour, it is our Adopt a Pet Tuesdays segment at 8:50 a.m. We'll check in with Amber Francisco over at the Farmington Regional Animal Shelter. She will be introducing us to all of the pets available for adoption this week, including Jack, the dog you see on the screen right there. We'll learn more about Jack and more coming up later on this hour on KSJE. Mick Hess joins us next hour, Roving with the Arts at 9:06, our classical music program. Hope you'll stay tuned for that. And we invite you to connect with us on our Instagram page, in addition to Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. And if you're a podcast person, you can subscribe for free to KSJE Podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, places like iTunes and Spotify and iHeartRadio and Google Podcasts and Pandora. Subscribe and find a new program that you may have missed here on KSJE and take us with you. Outside our studios this morning, it's a mostly cloudy Tuesday morning at the moment. Temperature 50 degrees. We are expecting some increasing sunshine as the day progresses, but also those winds are going to kick up again as well today. We could see wind gusts this afternoon up to 50 miles per hour. Today's high in Farmington, 76 degrees. Tonight, windy conditions again, partly cloudy skies with a low of 43. Mostly sunny tomorrow with a high of 75 on Wednesday, warming up to 78 with sunshine on Thursday, 71 and windy on Friday, 58 with the winds continuing on Saturday, and partly sunny skies on Sunday with a high of 62 degrees. Well, let me introduce my guests who are here with me this morning. Once again, welcome back, Superintendent of Schools with the Aztec School District. Kevin Summers is here. Mr. Summers, good morning. Good to have you back.
Good morning, Scott. Thanks for having us.
You bet. Good to see you. And we'll introduce our other guest this morning as well, the newest principal of Aztec High School. Brandon Thurston is here this morning as well. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Welcome and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And we'll talk with you in a little bit.
Awesome. I'll be here.
glad that you are here to join us with that conversation. And so, Superintendent Summers, let's talk about some of the other things that are on the calendar for us this morning, and that includes the calendar, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Right?
We've got a lot of great things happening in Aztec, and the calendar discussions are one of them. So we've got quite a few things in the works. Our calendar committee started meeting together earlier this month, late in March.
Okay.
We actually had to wait for the legislature to end because we were looking at a couple of different options for our community. So we came to the table with, I think, about 9 calendar options to begin with, and as a committee we're starting to narrow those things down, so we've actually narrowed it down to 3 options at this particular point for school year 22-23. We hope to finalize that this Friday, actually, each of those 3 options, when the holidays will be, things of that sort. Start date, end date for students and staff alike.
Right.
And then we'll take those calendars out to a public vote. So we're going to be blowing up inboxes and text messages and phone calls and all of those things, our social media accounts, so that we get the word out there. And we really want our community to vote on which calendar they'd like to see as a viable option for Aztec schools. And then once those results come in, we'll take those to our school board and we'll officially adopt that calendar, whichever one wins, on May 12th.
It's popular vote, right?
Popular
That's going to
vote.
be the deciding factor. And this is
Absolutely.
going to be like an online vote, right?
Yes,
People
sir.
don't have to go
Yeah.
to the polls or anything like that.
Right,
type of
right.
an
No,
election.
it'll be like a Survey Monkey
Sure.
type venue.
Gotcha. And you're expecting, just for our radio listeners, the anticipated voting window in early May 2nd through the 11th. So that's a little over a week away, perhaps, but people have several days to cast their vote.
Correct, absolutely. And so, like I said, we're going to be a little bit annoying. We're gonna send that communication out several ways and several days because we really do want to hear from the community.
Well, and folks seem to have a pretty passionate opinion about school calendars, do they not? I mean, I think you
Absolutely.
hear from a lot of parents and others who feel one way or the other about whatever is going on, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I get it. Being a parent myself, especially as you're planning family vacations or trying to determine childcare for the following year, or even during the summer if you have a job where you work year round. That calendar is very important to the family. So we want to make sure that our families are voiced in this process, and so that's why popular vote it made sense to us. I use Las Cruces as an example. Las Cruces Public Schools, they just recently adopted a calendar, did a great job from an internal perspective, but when you kind of reach out to the community and say, hey, how'd you like that calendar? They said, well, they never asked us. They should have given us a little bit more of a voice. And that's not to throw Las Cruces Public Schools under the proverbial bus by any means, but having that partnership with our community, with our families, is extremely important to us.
Right. Well, and that's a good thing, I think, that for the public to understand and realize. And so, again, this is going to happen probably after Friday. You'll start reaching out to the public, and folks in Aztec will have a voice to decide, right?
Yes, sir.
What they would like to
Absolutely.
do. Can you give us any ideas on? There's 3 options,
Yeah,
right? And
3
so
options. Yeah.
I guess
so,
at least one would be the more traditional school calendar that we would think about, right? But
Yeah.
what are the
yeah.
other 2?
Option number 1 is exactly what we're doing this year, just without the 10 extra days. Our community elected for it's called the Extended Learning Time Program for this calendar year, so it was 10 extra days. We started a little bit earlier. We're going to end a little bit later than the other area schools. But it was also made very clear it wasn't an option that people wanted to continue with. So,
Okay.
So option number 1 is this exact calendar minus those 10 extra days. So
Still about
starting
180 days? Is that where
180
we are?
days, that's required by law and rule. So 180 days for students, 185 days for teachers, starting early August, ending before Memorial Day.
Okay.
Option number 2 is a little bit different, but still the traditional-ish calendar, starting a little bit later in August and ending a little bit later in May, a couple days after Memorial Day. But we call that the San Juan County Fair version because it actually has teachers report back on contract after the fair is ended.
Gotcha.
Because we know, the San Juan County Fair is
Sure.
it's a big deal.
Right.
And so we want to honor that.
Okay.
And then option number 3 is a variable calendar, probably otherwise known as a year-round calendar, which is a little bit of a misnomer because it's technically not year-round.
Right.
But a calendar option like that would start mid to late July and go all the way through the end of May, still leaving June open. But what's most notable about a variable calendar is after every quarter, whether that's a 6-week quarter or a 9-week quarter, you're going to have an extended break. So it could be anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks, depending on how we want to make those shifts. So
Gotcha. So a long fall break and a longer winter break and
Exactly.
a longer spring break and those types of things. is
Yes,
what
sir.
what
Yep,
people will
exactly.
see. And that will, I'm sure, all be included in the materials coming out for the vote.
Absolutely. So as soon as we kind of finalize all of the holidays and start dates and things of that sort, we'll get some kind of information out to the community, and then we'll push that voting link out sometime early May.
Okay, very
Yes, sir.
very good. And again, it is a popular vote wins, I guess, is what you're planning to do, right? So
Yes,
that
sir.
will be the deciding factor.
That's exactly right.
And so,
And so it's going to be open to everybody in the community, whether you're a parent or a community business owner or maybe a magistrate judge. But everybody who is a resident of Aztec and is served by Aztec Municipal School District, they'll have the ability to vote on these calendars. Because again, the partnership between us and our community is of paramount importance to us.
very good. And that's a good distinction that you made. Not just Aztec residents are going to be allowed to vote. It's going to be anyone impacted by the Aztec School District, which, as we know, goes far beyond the city limits of Aztec.
Absolutely.
And so those folks will have a voice as well.
Yes, sir.
And so that's important to note. I wanted to ask you, too, a little bit about some other educational opportunities for your students in the Aztec School District. I think we've touched on this prior to, but beginning in the next school year, no matter what calendar you decide, will be these different career and technical education pathways for your students. And so talk to me a little bit about these. And pathways is a big word here at San Juan College as well. So.
Absolutely. In fact, I was just having a conversation with Sandy Gilpin about pathways.
Right.
Well, what pathways are for K-12 education is 3 and 4 course sequences of classes that result in capstone courses, internships, apprenticeships, things of that sort, maybe even dual credit courses, dependent on the pathway. And so next year at Aztec High School, we're going to have 11 different public education department approved pathways, and we're very, very excited about it. We will be one of the only, if not the only, high school in the entire state to offer that many opportunities for students. So it's going to be really neat for kids walking in the doors, especially as freshmen, to say, hey, look, there's these pathways and all of the jobs and potential careers that exist within these pathways, and really give students an opportunity to experience experiential learning and have opportunities that have really never been afforded to them before.
Right. I was going to say that sounds like a lot, and you just confirmed that it is a lot.
It is a lot.
Being offered at Aztec schools, and that sounds like a great opportunity to bring in our other guest this morning,
Absolutely.
the new principal of Aztec High School, Brandon Thurston, to talk about how this kind of works into your plans for your leadership at Aztec High School.
Yes.
So good morning once again.
So thank you. So when we're looking at all the pathways, it's a super exciting thing for our kids, and really thinking about, for me, when I look at pathways and I look at CTE programs, it's really about making and bringing the relevancy to classrooms and to kids. So as you're looking at those different opportunities, it is where the relevancy really kind of comes to play and gives kids an exposure to different jobs that are out there and different career paths. They may choose that they like it, they may choose that they not, but at least they have that information to understand what that looks like. And with these 11 different pathways, it's a great way for us to look forward and partner with the college, partner with community. I've done this in other places in which the community really stepped up, and it provided some great opportunities for our kids with internships and exposure that way, where they actually go out and get jobs. I've got some phenomenal experience with kids doing just that and going into careers right away, and finding that they love it. And so that's pretty cool when you get a kid that's 16, 17 years old that doesn't have a clue of what they want to do, and you expose them to computers, or you expose them to nursing, or you expose them to all these different things that they really didn't think either was available in their community or was a possibility for them. And these pathways, these classes that are sequenced, allow them to build their schools or their skills along the way to be super successful there. So
Right.
That's a pretty exciting time to take over and see the direction the district's headed, and knowing that's a lot of the work that I've done in the past. It's how we support our kids, and more importantly, long term, it's how we support our community.
Right.
Keep our kids here.
Right. Let me run through the list for folks listening on the radio who can't see it on the screen this morning, just to be clear. But we're looking at these pathways at Aztec schools: animal science, natural resources, ag mechanics and machinery, teacher education, healthcare, welding, construction trades, information technology, computer science, military science and engineering, with other offerings, entrepreneurship, workplace internship program, and of course, dual credit here with San Juan College. And so it sounds like, as you mentioned, though, you do need kind of those community partners, right, to maybe offer some of these internships in these different areas for your students in these classes, in these pathways?
Absolutely. So when I look at what's going on with our community partners, they help drive the content, the scope and sequence, the skills that our kids need. They come in and tell us exactly what they're looking for from employees coming out of our school. And that's whether they go straight into career or whether they go off to college. It allows us to help direct the learning, so we know that when our kids leave, they're prepared for whatever path that they want to go to. So if they want to go to college, awesome. If they want to go straight into a career, awesome. If they want to go into the military, awesome. They are ready to go and just kind of launch into whatever their next thing is. But we need those community partners to really step up and say, these are the things that we're looking for, and you know, keeping our kids here. It's building that skill base. Right.
And keeping the kids here, and by here I'm thinking about school too, and of course that retention rate and maybe getting them to graduation. Are these things, and this is a question for both of you, are having pathways like this and opportunities like this really important for maybe that student who's just struggling to just finish, right? Just trying to get to that 12th grade, get to that graduation. Could this motivate them to maybe stay engaged and stay involved if they can see that career, you know, right there at the end of that 12th year, that 12th grade?
Yeah, absolutely. The data is pretty clear. Nationally, 98% of students who are engaged in career and technical education pathways graduate. 98%. I think the state average right now is about 75% for the state of New Mexico, and that's with and without technical education embedded. So when we look at kind of our graduation data in this county, Aztec High, we're kind of average at best.
Right.
You know, nothing necessarily to write home about. So we look at this as an opportunity to make sure that our kids have the most basic of academic achievement, which is a high school diploma. And so if we can increase from 75% to 85%, or even 95%, that would be amazing. What an amazing gift to our community, what an amazing gift to our students. And at the end of the day, when we talk about our purpose as an educational organization, our purpose is to create basically functioning human beings, right? If we learn a little bit of geometry along the way or English along the way, then that's great. But what we want to be able to do is create human beings who walk across our stage in May and are able to immediately do something else, right? Immediately translate those skills into a workplace offering, or immediately translate those skills into higher education or technical education.
Right, and that's what these are designed to do for your students, and to get them out. And again, I think, as you mentioned, whether they're going to go on to college or go out into the workforce, these classes would prepare them for either path.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, I just want to be clear about that too, because you know, when you hear, you know, CTE or you hear career and technical, a lot of people think these are, you know, these are low-paying jobs. These are not. These are high-paying, high-skilled jobs. Most of them are locally available. And when you're also thinking about the type of work that these kids are engaged in, you know, I think of my own son. Some of these kids, this is why they come to school. Right? You know, they have that amazing welding teacher. They have that amazing connection in the ag shop. You know, they don't necessarily come because they really want to learn about, you know, what was going on politically in the 1400s in Europe. They want to know what can they do here, and maybe they're more of a hands-on kid. You know, for years and years we talk about sports programs and kids thriving there. Well, that's one reason why we have those programs, is to help teach leadership and capacity building and that kind of stuff. CTE programs do the same thing. And it's not limiting to just the trades. It's definitely open to things like computer science and health sciences. And you look at those higher end things that you need to move on to college for, this is where kids get that taste. And so it's really, I hope it's more of a hook for kids to really want to be at school and come in and engage in that way.
Right, but important to note that there is some thought put into these offerings as to why they're local, they're good-paying jobs, people can spend 30 years in these careers and do very well. That's why I noticed that broadcasting is not on the list, but that's okay. But these are all great jobs and great careers. And again, they have that option of folks who want to come here to San Juan College and continue, or maybe get a 4-year degree and move on, or get right out and cross the stage in May and get right into the job and the workforce and start building a career for themselves. So that makes a lot of sense. Mr. Thurston, talk to us a little bit about your background, too, before you became principal at Aztec High School.
Sure.
What have you been up to?
I've been in the Four Corners for a really long time. I went to Fort Lewis College, loved it there, fell in love with the region. Just done a lot of different things. I've been a math teacher, I've been a science teacher, I've done middle school, I've done high school. But really kind of where I found my passion as a leader was, one, stepping out of the classroom into administrative role. I found that a lot of times when you're doing great things in your classroom, you're only connecting with a handful of kids. And I wanted to make a bigger impact, so that's why I looked at administration. And then over the years, I've had some really cool opportunities. The biggest one I think that really changed my focus was Durango High School and their CTE programs. I walked in with the challenge to grow both career and technical education programs at Durango High School and the concurrent enrollment options. And what we built out of that was an amazing process. So the dual enrollment opportunities for kids, the different pathways that we developed, the different experiences we brought in with professionals coming to the table. Those are the things that really kind of lit me up as far as a teacher in me and an administrator, and just the opportunities for kids. So, that's a really short version of what I've done. But that's kind of also what also drew me to Aztec Schools was, again, it's the direction that the schools are going, and really for me, it's the right move for education as a whole. So, yeah, I'm super excited to be here.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mr. Summers, obviously some important skills and probably the reason why you made that decision to put Mr. Thurston over at Aztec High School.
Yeah, absolutely. We had some amazing applicants. In fact, great applicants that we couldn't just let go of. In fact, we've got a whole administrative shift that's taking place as a result of this. So we're going to have 3 new principals moving into next year, Mr. Thurston being one of them. But I think we also need to congratulate Brenda McNeil, who currently is serving as assistant principal at Aztec High School. She's going to be taking over the helm at Kugler Middle School next year. And then our principal this year at Kugler Middle School, Miss Jessica Slajinsky, she's actually going to be taking over the helm at Park Avenue Elementary. So we're really excited about the possibility of really not only exposing students to career and technical education at the high school, but actually matriculating that down into the junior high, into our elementaries, and really exposing kids at an early age to the possibility of what if. And I know we've had this conversation before, but I think about my own children. I've got a 7-year-old, and if you ask him what he wants to be, he's going to tell you something that he's familiar with. He wants to be an educator because that's what mom and dad is, or he wants to work at a golf course because that's what his grandpa does, or he wants to be a monster truck driver because he's 7 years old, and sometimes he wants to be a dinosaur because he's 7 years old, right? But he talks about the things that he wants to be based on what he's experienced. He never has said, I want to be a chemical engineer. He's never experienced that. He's never said, I want to be a radio broadcaster, which, by the way, I do believe we could fit into the information technology pathway.
Probably could.
He's never said those things because he's never really experienced those things. And so I think it's going to be a really great opportunity for us in this kind of administrative shuffle to be able to expand those offerings to our kids, even as low as pre-K. I had a pre-K teacher tell me the other day, we really believe that you can't be it unless you can see it. And what an amazing opportunity that is for our kids.
Right. Very true. Very true. And I imagine there's folks listening and watching us this morning, gentlemen, that would say, but when I was growing up, when I was in kindergarten or first grade or 7 years old, I never thought a lot about maybe my career pathway in school, and I knew I wanted to be something maybe when I grew up, like a fireman or a teacher or whatever, but the school never really kind of talked to me about career pathways or what I wanted to be, and I think times are changing, obviously, and I think kids today have a lot more going on, or a lot more aware of what's happening around them. And is that part of this conversation of why we're having these conversations with children at earlier and earlier ages, to get them in that thinking of what they want to do and figuring it out? If they don't like it, they can switch to something else if they're in 5th grade, and no harm, no foul. Absolutely.
I think it is the things that you need to be aware of, you need to be able to see, you need to have that exposure for, and this just gives our kids a chance to do that. It really gives them a taste of things. I've seen some really cool internship programs where I talked to a young lady who was on her 3rd internship of the time, and she really thought she wanted to be a vet, and so she went into do that, and she wound up hating it, and then she shifted and she went into something else, and then she shifted again and went into her third thing and found her passion, right? I think what we are seeing over time is you don't typically have a 30-year single job, single location career anymore. And so with those times being, changing constantly, also the jobs that are going to be, these kids are going into, it's no longer specific pathways. It's you have to be adaptable. You have to have skill sets, but you have to be able to think about how these apply to different situations. The technology evolves so fast. The skill sets evolve so fast. So really just thinking about how we can expose kids to what's out there and what are the possibilities. That's an amazing point for us to really think about, what is out there, what is possible for our kids, and what's next, and really kind of thinking about that, working with our community partners to see how can we bring those real things to the table.
Right. Well, and as you mentioned, go ahead, Mr. Summers.
Oh, no, just yes, absolutely what he said.
Right, there you go. I was just going to add that it seems like in some of these career pathways, there are jobs that probably haven't even been invented yet that you are educating these kids for, which is, again, another thing that I think maybe kids from my generation didn't even think about. I mean, we had radio and TV and newspapers, and that was all we had in media, and that was how it was going to be until this thing called the internet came along, and now everything's a little bit changed because of that, and these things are still evolving and changing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a great quote by Richard Riley. I can't remember all the pieces of it, but basically it is that. It's, the jobs aren't out there, or the jobs are out there, but they're changing so fast that we're not preparing them for one specific job or career. It's, what are the different things that we can do to prepare you for life and to be successful after high school? Those are the really important parts, but also can we find a passion? Can we light a fire under you that no matter where you go, no matter what you do, you're going to be able to be employable and you're going to be a successful member of society moving forward. So that's really super important for us. And again, I've seen it happen and I've seen it be successful, and I know we can do an awesome job with it here at Aztec.
That's great. And again, I think for parents maybe who are trying to wrap their heads around this whole idea and this whole concept, it is different from maybe what we were seeing 20 years ago, and that's why maybe they're having a little hard time just understanding why this conversation happens at such a young age for their kids. But it's an important conversation to have. So.
Absolutely, Scott. And the last thing I would say is times they are a-changing, right?
Right?
So not only is our society shifting, but for the last 120 years or so, graduation requirements have remained stagnant. We know that there's a push in legislature to potentially modify graduation requirements. We have some of the most stringent graduation requirements in the entire country. And so us kind of being on the forefront of the career and technical education wave in our state is going to be very important moving forward as those graduation requirements do change. Maybe not every student needs Algebra 2 anymore, but we could substitute that for a career and technical education pathway. So instead of Algebra 2, maybe it's Introduction to Architecture. And it's something that, again, the kids are passionate about, but we're also being able to teach them a skill that is relatable to a multitude of careers over the course of time. And so I think it's just a win-win for the community and the student alike.
Very true. Well, and again, I want to just wrap up by maybe just putting a plug in for the dual credit classes here
Absolutely.
at San Juan College. I think, again, for parents, to be able to get your kid to get a college credit course and get credit for free, right? They're not paying tuition.
Exactly.
You guys are. And so in books and all that other stuff, I think that's a great partnership as well for your students. So that will continue, obviously.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
And in fact, Scott, we're in the process of making sure that our pathways align perfectly to the pathways that exist here at San Juan College. So it should be a really smooth transition for students who want to continue that education, whether it's going to culminate in a certificate or an actual degree.
Right. There you go. They're all aligned, as we say. So
Yes, sir.
That's important. Very good. Well, gentlemen, thank you for coming in this morning and speaking with me. I really appreciate it. Always great to have you here, Mr. Summers.
Pleasure. Thank you again for having us. Really excited, obviously, about some of the changes, and we're really happy to have Brandon here as part of our team. So thanks again for having us.
You're very welcome. Mr. Thurston, congratulations again. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
Come back anytime.
All right.
My guest this morning from the Aztec School District with me here on KSJE. KSJE is supported by the Farmington Civic Center, bringing a full slate of entertainment to Farmington and San Juan County. The Doo-Wah Riders, American Country Music, Tuesday, April 19th, 7:30 p.m. The Farmington Civic Center, 200 West Arrington in downtown Farmington. Find out more online at fmtn.org/shows or at 505-599-1148. KSJE is supported by the Durango Bluegrass Meltdown, April 17th, 18th, and 19th in Durango, Colorado. The Meltdown features walkable indoor venues with Bruce Molsky and Tony Trischka, Special Consensus, Unspoken Tradition and AJ Lee, and Blue Summit. There'll be an old-time barn dance, band contest, workshops, jamming, and bluegrass in downtown bars. Find out more at DurangoMeltdown.com. KSJE and San Juan College present the Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week. Week 12, Eliminate Distractions. Studying without distractions is crucial. If you're studying alone, try to find a quiet space or put headphones on to block out noise from your surroundings. If you're in an area trying to study and it's just not working out, relocate. It might be frustrating to have to pick up and move, but it'll be worth it once you're in a good environment. Consider putting your phone on silent or vibrate. You can always respond to your messages after your study session. The Student Success Coaching Tip of the Week, presented by KSJE and the Student Achievement Center at San Juan College.